Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
So I get to go first. I'll tell you why. Because I was the last person to send in my slides. We're going to make him go first. You better be ready. And we're going to make him follow Karen. So that's a tough one to follow. So, all right. So I'm going to talk about networking. So how many people in here, by show of hands, would say, I'm a natural networker in there?
Come on now. Come on.
You got like,
Not a man.
How many
you
people?
got like 4 and 2 halves.
50-50.
Sometimes hate networking. By show of hands, how many people sometimes hate networking? Dislike it, hate is a strong word.
Sometimes dislike.
So, actually, I hate networking sometimes, and most people do. And some of the reasons why they hate it is sometimes it can feel uncomfortable. And sometimes it can feel phony and inauthentic, it can feel forced, right? And then sometimes it feels exploitative, like especially when you're supposed to be there to network and they tell you, go out and network, go work your thing, go. Sometimes it can feel like, okay, what am I trying to do? This feels shifty, this, just doesn't feel good. And so some people actually hate networking. And if you think about it, I want to say networking is really a natural thing. Right? Networks are inside of us and outside of us. They're all around, right? You have a neurological network of cells that keep you healthy, keep you alive, right? Networks are everywhere. In fact, if you go back fundamentally, if you think about Survivor or some of these shows, if you were to be dropped in the middle of Africa somewhere, alone, all right? First, you're going to be wandering around. You're thinking, okay, you're taking the scenery, this is kind of nice, this is pretty. I need to find some water, it's kind of hot out here, You're going to start thinking about survival, okay? And then you're going to then remember the dangers around, so I might need to make a weapon, get something, find out where I can go to shelter. And after a while, you're getting hungry, you're getting thirstier, you're walking around here, and you start to think, it'd be good to have some sushi right now. You start thinking about, your mind's wandering, you start thinking about, all kinds of things, and, start missing your friends. It's kind of lonely out here. Now you're alone, and, so you're in the middle of Africa, you're in the middle of nowhere, you're thinking about how am I going to survive? And in that moment, let's say you take a break, you sit down, and it's getting late, it's starting to get dark. You see some fire flickering in the distance. Your heart starts racing. Like, oh, hold on, I'm not alone. So you start going towards the fire. Now you're thinking, I hope they're friendly, but I got this stick with a rock tied to it, so. But something is going to compel you to go forward and try and make contact. Because naturally we want to network. Networking is survival. And so you go over there and then you see some shadows, see a couple of people moving in the distance, see some makeshift shelters, and something continues to compel you forward despite you also wondering, okay, are they friendly? Are they dangerous? Are these, tribal people? They're going to come out with spears, start throwing spears at me? But something's going to force you to make contact. And when you do, hopefully they're friendly and they're willing to share some of their, some of their food or survival instincts, and you have some things to offer them too. And that's how the communities formed very early on for people. We naturally came together for the basic human needs, for food, to hunt together. We formed communities, villages, tribes. Eventually, we have modern civilization. People are natural networkers. We depend on one another for everything. Just basic survival depends on networking. But I'll tell you, everything moving up in life, it all depends on our networks. And sometimes we miss opportunities with networking because we hate networking. But I'll tell you why it's important. So as I thought about this topic, I said, this is good. This would be a good topic. I can do some research on it. Have some introspective thoughts on this. And I came across this term, social capital. How many people have heard of social capital before? I never really, maybe it passed and it just flew right across, and I never really thought much about social capital. So access to people who build business capacity, networks, and opportunities. We all work with capital, right? And it's interesting working at a plant. You see, all of the tours that come through, and what are we doing when we have these tours? We have leadership come through. Or we're building social capital with leadership. We're trying to convince them that we have the competence and the confidence for them to come make investments in us, for them to build their portfolio of projects and investments around our sites. And we compete with other sites for these investments, right? We're trying to build our social capital with them so they'll actually make real capital investments in us. So limited social capital translates into limited opportunities for us in our everyday lives. So if you look around this room, there are a few different types of interactions where we can build social capital. One is bonds. These are links to people based on common identities. I wouldn't say I hate networking with people in this room. I love seeing the people in this room. I love coming together. That's because we are linked together by a common sense of identity, right? We come from the same culture. So bonds can be some of our strongest, most natural networks. Then you have bridges, and these stretch beyond a sense of identity. So these are the networking opportunities you would have this week to establish mentors. These are often outside of our culture. And bridges are important because without bonds or bridges, we start to operate on simplified, it says simplified and standardized conceptions or images. So generalizations and stereotypes. That's dangerous. When people have to operate on stereotypes, especially other groups, when they have to generalize us and operate on stereotypes, it's dangerous. They're going to have misconceptions. They simplify us and reduce us to less sophisticated individuals. And so when we go and we build bridges to those groups, we offer them insights, windows into who we are, what we're capable of. And we become references for them and they index to those references as they interact with other people just like us. So it's important to build these bridges so that we can not only offer them insights into our world, but also gain insights into their world. They have value information and things to provide to us. So bridges. And then linkages. These are further up and down the social ladder, and they may be less visible, and I think really the big differentiator is we interact with them less frequently, but they're also important. So I see a few bonds in this picture, one of our previous offsite. I see a few opportunities to build linkages. We had some of our ERT there as well, right? And so that's how I think about linkages. So it's all about building social capital, and then the next question is, so how do we shift into being more natural at networking? How do we approach it more naturally? Because we're natural networkers. But if we think about it as work, then it's sometimes harder to get going, to get networking. But networking is not working. So let's approach it more naturally. So we talked about that social capital. This is a quote from Mark Twain. He says, "Why not go out on a limb? That's where the fruit is. That's where the social capital is." So how do you get over the hump to stretch out and get out on that limb and get to your social capital? So I got 3 strategies. One is search for common interests. Avoid controversial issues. Let's not talk about Donald Trump and whether you like him or don't like him. Politics and religion, man, those are definitely tough, dangerous topics. You got to tread lightly around those topics, and you don't know where people are going to come from. But one safe question is, well, what do you like doing in your spare time? What are your hobbies? What are your interests? What are your passions? And I like this quote from Eleanor Roosevelt. She said, "Great minds discuss ideas. Ideas are safe. And ideas are an opportunity to think and talk intellectually. Right? Great minds discuss ideas. Average minds discuss events. Small minds discuss people." I talk people last. But great minds discuss ideas, and we're all about ideas. We're all about great ideas. We're all about, Karen said the word, innovation. We have great ideas, and we love to talk ideas, and business people love to hear ideas. So it's a great place to start. So talk ideas, talk passions, right? Talk the things that we love and enjoy. Focus on the learning. There's an opportunity. As you go build this social capital, as you build these bridges, you have an opportunity to get a window inside their world. And here's another thing. I like this picture because perspective is important. Soundboarding with other people, being able to call up Marcus Richardson, randomly at 9:30 a.m. and say, hey, I had this interaction and I don't know what to make of that. I perceived it like this, and then he offers a different perspective. So perspective, how things appear can be a matter of your perspective. Sometimes you need somebody who can see it from a different angle, who sees it from a different angle, and then it gives you new ways to think about it. So there's opportunities to learn in these interactions. So what might this person know that I don't? What's their expertise? What's their strengths? I just want to know who this person is, right? Or I just want to walk over, there's a group of people, I don't want to invade and throw myself in there, but I just want to kind of hear what they're talking about, right? There's something to gain even just in that. And then think about what you have to give. This goes back to the bonds, bridges, and linkages. They're born out of distinct, non-controversial differences. Hopefully you don't go to the controversial things, but generational, cultural, education, hobbies, family, things like that. But I'll tell you this much, especially to the younger people in the room, because you're going to have an opportunity to network this week. Plenty of opportunities, right? This is a quote by Maya Angelou. It's one of my favorite quotes of all times, because it's so true to me. People will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but they'll remember how you made them feel. Remember how you made them feel. And so I have a question here, like, is gratitude enough? As you're interacting with senior leaders, a lot of times you wonder, well, what do I have to give them? What do I have to share with them that's really important? Sometimes it's listening, hearing about their experience, and showing appreciation for the things that they've done and how they've paved the way for us. Sometimes it's, how they've, how they're giving back just by being here, So sometimes gratitude is just enough. And remember, this is all to the extent of building social capital, right? So as I thought about this topic, I thought about networking. Why do we network? It's natural. It's kind of obvious. Why don't we network? Sometimes it's just getting started, getting out there, and when we don't, we miss the opportunity to build this social capital. But this capital is important. We all want to continue to excel and advance and be trusted with more and more capital spending, bigger projects, bigger responsibilities. To do that, we have to be able to build this social capital. So that's networking naturally. It's very quick. Hopefully that was helpful. And like I said, I appreciate the opportunity to talk and have this ability to kind of take a step back, do some introspective thinking and research, and really focus on this opportunity to help build myself. So hopefully that was helpful to you all. Thank you.